Find the failure points of your gear before they find you. Locust Police Department alerted residents that shots fired at Walmart Saturday night were accidental. A customer was grocery shopping, bent over to grab items, and their gun fell to the floor, causing it to discharge into the ceiling. Luckily, no one was hurt in that case. There's another case, if you scroll through the presentation, where a mother's gun fell out of the holster and discharged, striking her child in the leg. So, you know, all of these things have consequences attached. If you want to read these, there are too many to read here, but feel free on your own time if you want to click through and read those. There's quite a few. Another one I found interesting. A special agent with the Social Security Administration is suing the makers of his gun, holster, and gun, alleging their defective design led the gun to fire into his thigh while trying to clip the holster to his belt. And you kind of wonder, how could that happen? Because generally we tell people the best practice is, if you're going to put your gun on for the day, leave it in the holster. Put the whole thing on. That's generally safer than trying to reholster on the body with a hot gun. But I started looking into the company that made the holster, and this is not the same holster, but it's similar to this in principle. So he thought he was being safe. He thought that he was handling the gun in a holster and putting it on his belt in a holster. But we can look at this and say what may have happened is maybe as he was struggling to get it in place, maybe things started to squish up. Or maybe, you know, this trigger protection maybe wasn't quite adequate. So there are a lot of things that can happen that you won't discover until the heat of the moment. So what I tell people is find the failure points of your gear before they find you. And that means holster testing based on the criteria that make a safe holster. So what are some, what would you guys consider criteria of a safe holster? What does your holster need to do to be considered safe?
Cover the trigger.
Cover the trigger, yep, protect the trigger.
Lock consistently.
Yeah, like retain the gun. Hold the gun to you.
Stay open.
Say, what was that?
Stay open.
Stay open, yes, that is the third. You guys are acing this class already.
Yeah, so I was going to say, we summarize that as the holster needs to be able to retain the gun in the holster and the holster to your body. It needs to prevent accidental trigger manipulation. And it needs to provide a clear and unobstructed path from the target back into the holster without flagging any part of your body.
Yep, and we're going to speed through a lot of this quickly, but we do have additional resources for most of these things on our website. So here's a holster that I bought because somebody in a Facebook group assured me that it was safe and it had adequate trigger protection, and I thought, oh, you know, just looking at the picture, I don't think that's the case.
But it's on Facebook, so you know it's true.
Right. But I thought, oh, all right, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong once before, so I thought, okay. Well, first of all, this holster with the gun out of it, it collapses. So in order to reinsert the gun, if I'm wearing the holster, I need to pull that pocket open and put the gun into it without muzzling any part of my body, which can be done. It is difficult, and most people are going to go like this. So you want your holster to have a mechanism for safe reholstering. Best way to do that is a rigid holster that stays open when the gun's drawn.
Yeah, sweeping your hand and pointing the muzzle at your pelvis, not great.
Not so good. Not so good. So this holster, the person using it said, well, it has a patch that covers the trigger. So this patch is a stiffer plastic. Therefore, this holster is safe. And I said, well, okay, I'll try it, I guess. And I thought, oh, well, you know, it does kind of cover the trigger. And if this is as hard as you're going to test it, you would think this works for me. Works for me. But now, as soon as I bend over, it doesn't work for me anymore. So what you want to do is test your gear to your physical limitations. Because if you know that you can do jumping jacks, you can do wall slides, and you can do whatever movement you think is going to expose the weaknesses of that holster.
Sprints.
Then that holster will also serve you on the worst day of your life when you don't know when you might need to do. For me, the times when I have tested my holster retention the hardest were like running with a fire extinguisher. You know, not the typical self-defense scenario that you would think to prepare for. But test the holster to your physical limitations, and then you're going to know where the failure points are.